Hey guys, good morning. It's Tuesday. So usually we do these things on Wednesday, but it's Adam Belansky here, founder and CEO of Sierra Pacific Group, the ConnectWise boss. And I'm excited because tomorrow I get to fly to New York area, hit up Newark, hang out with my buddy Sean Lardo. And in fact, Sean Lardo, let's bring you on right now because we're here to talk about one thing, and it is PitchIT. And our
Yes,
contestants here.
and the fact that I'm looking up tickets for the Pittsburgh Braves game, so tonight at 7:05.
Yep.
I hope we smash the Braves. I hate the Braves, so we're clear. I hate Sid Green. How about that? That's how far back my
Oh,
hatred.
Sid slid. Yep.
It brings me
Yes.
it brings me emotional turmoil.
Oh, plus, you get to go see the top team in all of baseball, the Atlanta Braves. I mean, that's pretty awesome. You get to see some pretty stellar stars and all that stuff. But
I,
we actually
I,
get to fly. We get to hang out tomorrow for
yes,
the next
New
3
Jersey
days
and
over
Parsippany.
in, yep, Parsippany. I keep forgetting the name. I don't know where I'm going to be until I land in New York. So,
Yeah, call it New Jersey. Just make it easy, right?
Jersey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for Channel Pro. I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's good. I love going out there, hanging out. We're actually going to be talking about. We have a contestant on here about AI, and
I
so
know.
I get to have a panel and have a discussion around AI. So I'm really super thrilled about that. And speaking of kind of pitch it and innovation and all that stuff, Sean, give us a little background. We've been doing this for weeks, in fact, months.
Well,
Pitch
years.
it.
At this point,
Tell
actually
me what's
years.
up.
Actually, it's years. It's 2 years of this of you and I doing this.
Yes, it has been 2 years
Two.
of the initiative that Jason McGee has basically been on a
Yes,
mission, and
he is. He is on a mission. I sat with him at ChannelCon last week and talked about it. So there's exciting things coming down the pike. I can't wait to. I can't say anything, but it's very exciting. Anyway, talk about Pitch It. So very simply put, Pitch It. It is a Shark Tank-like competition. 5 years under, been sponsored by ConnectWise. This is the 5th year running. It is for us to find the best of the innovators, right? We're looking for startup vendors. They have to be able to do two main things here. One is be complementary to the ConnectWise ecosystem, and second, and most importantly, be able to. Is that the parents? Hi, parents. Love them. I love them. You can talk as much as you want about your son, Adam. Yeah, where was I? So secondly, the most important mission of it all is that they have to be able to support the MSP's missions. The mission to support their clients. By far, that's the most important piece. Now, as I mentioned, this is a competition, and what they're competing for, and this is the most immediate thing they're competing for right now, is preliminaries happen in like 2 weeks.
Yep.
And they happen live on virtual with the channel program. And please, you all need to stay tuned on August 24th, 29th, and 31st. They will be live virtual pitches happening for those 3 days. The votes count towards them making it to the finals. So if they do become one of the, we have 26 vendors in competing right now. We're going to go down. We're going to narrow it down to the 3 top ones after that end of the month here. So, and if the 3 finalists, the first reward they receive is they get free booth space at Connect, which is a pretty big deal, as we all know. But they are ultimately competing for where they'll pitch live at IT Nation Connect. They're competing for the grand prize is 70 grand, second place 30 grand, and third place Jelly of the Month Club.
That's pretty awesome. And yeah, so if you haven't registered for IT Nation Connect, definitely hit up the registration. Link is right here and on below in the lower thirds, I think they call it. So
they call it the lower thirds, not below, but lower thirds. Yes.
Lower thirds. I know I'm going to see you out there. It's an exciting time to see the 3 contestants compete on stage, pitching live.
You'll be there like you were last year. You're the timekeeper.
I'm the timekeeper and press those buttons. I have
to. You get front row seat for it though too, which is
absolutely
fantastic. Yes,
I love helping out and being part of this program. It's been really awesome seeing it evolve over the past couple of years, and from going from a handful of contestants a few years ago, now to what is it? Just shy of 20
last year, 26 this year, and we were putting together logistics for Connect, and I'm debating on we need a bigger room because that room was, if we have there was at least 400+ people in that room watching.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. So
It is.
and I'm almost out of room, and we need room for the bar.
Yeah. So, Sean, I love talking to you. I could talk, for the entire live
Yes.
thing, but I do want to bring in Trevor from ZenContract. Hey, Trevor, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic. I'm mostly recovered from Vegas last week, and I blame Sean for that.
Nice, man. I love the deep voice. It's really bassy. I like it.
That's his after Vegas voice.
That's talking to thousands of people over the course of a week in Vegas and yelling.
I lost my voice last week.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
It was
You're
rough.
preparing your larynx for IT Nation Connect, where you're going to talk now entirely.
Yeah,
dude. No, CompTIA was worse. I think, dude. It was. Like seriously, every day was a 4 a.m. day.
Yeah,
like it just because you see more people and you're still going. It was rough. Anyway, let's talk about Trevor, not about CompTIA.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. Trevor, can you tell us, who you are and what is ZenContract? What do you guys do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not the founder. I'm filling in for Greg Sharp because he is in New Zealand and it is a little bit early in the morning. So I'm the VP of Sales here. Been in this role for just about a year. It'll be a year and 2 weeks here. And ZenContract is a contract lifecycle management platform, which I know is a mouthful, but if you look at it, it's more around, okay, let's make sure that we have contracts that are out there that are compliant, signed, not expired, and then have a holistic view on our monthly recurring revenue. Like in a nutshell, that's it.
Nice. Okay. Well, that was really concise. I like it. It's funny how we start out in the beginning of the season where the pitches are, and now it's like very concise and very straightforward. I like where Sean, great job, and the team behind you too, right? I don't say enough about that, right?
Yeah.
So
it's definitely not me. It is it's not me, it's you. No, without like Louie and Andrea and Ashley and then all the cameo coaches, man. Seriously, it's these guys have all jumped leaps and bounds, because I remember when I met them all and we talked, everybody had a very long-winded explanation of what they do. And not that it's invalid. It's just not necessary.
So Trevor, let's dig into what the complete contract lifecycle management means. I guess take me from start to finish. What does that look like? How does that help solve a problem? Identify what the problem is you're solving in MSP business.
Okay, yeah. So the problem is, I think a lot of MSPs kind of come from this grassroots movement, right? Handshake deals, they grow, and they come to a point where, maybe they've got 10 employees and 50 customers, or, those numbers could be way off. But you get to a point where your contracts just fall by the wayside, and contracts are the last thing people want to talk about, especially when you're coming from a grassroots movement. Hey, Sean, you and I have this handshake deal. 5 years later, the cyber risk from all the bad actors is just growing and growing and growing. Now I want to go to Sean and be like, hey, here's a contract. Here's like division of liability, right? It's a scary concept, so people just don't do it. And then the result of that is, well, now the MSPs aren't on the same page as their clients. And if there is an incident, who's holding that bag, right? So it's really about getting our MSPs and their clients on the same page as far as contracts are concerned.
Nice. Okay. And so contracts. So is this integrated with ConnectWise Sell, or is it
manage? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And another big PSA that we don't need to mention as we're on a ConnectWise call.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is doing your own contract signing within the platform and so forth.
Yeah, and go ahead.
Can I elaborate here, because to me this gets me excited, being part of sales for so long. One of the hot topics and problems many companies face is that contract, and having a repeatable, scalable process. Well, first off, having an MSA that's always repeatable and scalable. Granted, red lines occur, but then once it's in there and adopted, to push out in a very simple, automated way is a struggle point, right? And then also to follow through with it, to always have it on file too. Think about the reason why sales document management platforms started to exist.
Yeah.
Think about why SharePoint existed, or supposed to have existed originally, right? All these different things. Think about why eSign or DocuSign became famous. All these things had the ability to host it, but never automate it. And that was always a problem. So I totally appreciate the fact of it is a sales enablement piece for sure.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And you can put permissions in so that there's an approval process. Let's say the margin drops below X%. Well, now that needs to go to the manager so they can approve it, right? So you don't have sales guys dropping their pants on a deal and going, yeah, I'm going to close another one. I'm going to get paid, but it's a losing contract for the next 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And then not to mention though, a question, I guess is a question for you. So I have a company and it's permission-based, right? The contractability, right? You're giving it permission-based based to all users in your company.
Yep.
So all the sales reps maybe have it that do proposals.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
And you can change it for like dollar amount, X percentage. You could just put it on any new person who comes in, right? For the first, 30 days, we're going to review everything you send out, or 6 months until we are comfortable. But then even further to that, you could have your SLAs in a proposal and you could lock that down entirely, right? Me in sales, instead of having a 24-hour turnaround on a ticket, I'm going to say, you know what, customer, it's going to be an hour for you. Nope, lock that down. They don't have access to that, right? And then the integration is pulling live pricing, right? So like there's a lot of safeguards, and this is the culmination of Greg doing this for decades, right? And going through all of these situations, right? We always talk about de-risking, but sales enablement's a big part of it as well.
So you're pulling pricing also?
Yep. And opportunities.
Where are you pulling pricing? Where are you pulling pricing from? Is it because in today's world, we know that MSPs will work with 20 to 40 different vendors, right?
Yep.
Along with, and that's including disties and master agents or whatever else they work with. So, and a lot of them will also bounce based off of being able to get certain incentives or better pricing. So are you able to connect to all those, or is it through ConnectWise, or how does that work?
It's through the product catalog. That's the main way that our users do it. The other way is if you have an opportunity, so let's say you're using Sell or another quoting platform that creates an opportunity in ConnectWise, we can pull that in.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. So you're not the true north of the pricing. No. It's wherever they go for it, you're pulling it and you're aggregating it.
Yeah, and like that's by design.
Yep.
Right.
That's smart. I don't blame you. That's a good call.
Yes, because the PSA should be your source of truth, right? You should be able to go in there and look at your margins and your burn rate and all of these things.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Trevor, that's really, really cool. So let me, we have another contestant here. And so I'm going to just put you in the green room. We'll chat with the other contestant. So give me one moment. Josh, how you doing? From
Doing
Grok.
great. Hello, everyone.
What's up, Josh? The beard's looking pretty dope.
Yeah, it's a little rough. It needs to be trimmed, I think, but I appreciate that. Coming from a man with a great beard.
Thank you. Adam gets a little envious at times. He can't grow this area right here. You see that thing right there? Not looking that good.
Let's just talk about the hair then.
He's young. It'll fill in. Hopefully with the gray at some point.
He's not that young. It's not filling and it's over.
Oh boy. And my dad, just like Sean, bald.
Yep. So probably Adam's future.
I'm holding on to my hair with the hat as much as possible. But Josh, Grok, tell me a little bit about Grok, what you do, and just kind of how you help solve MSP problems.
Sure, absolutely. So I am one of the co-founders of GrokStream. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been in the IT operations and network operations space, trying to solve the same problem for the last 25 years. And Grok is an AI ops platform. And what we do with Grok is we help companies identify as quickly as possible that there either is an issue or is going to be an issue in your environment, service affecting issue, and then we help you prevent or fix it as quickly as possible.
I can bring us back, Adam. Thank you. God, poor Josh is like, I'm done.
I could go on, but
these are very. It's like the first few. It's just I'm like, man, it can go 5 minutes and they're just going right, and then now it's concise. I love this. It's like boom, right to it. This is what we do.
That's amazing. So you're amazing, Josh, and I think Adam's a big fan. I think Adam's a big fan of you already because he's all about the AI piece now. So let's dig into what you exactly do, because you and I had a talk recently about this too, and even your VP of sales, we talked about it. We've been talking about machine learning AI for a long time, right? Yep. And it's almost been kind of bogus as far as really what that really meant was automation, right? Yeah. But everybody talked about it and everybody sold it 10 years ago. And so let's talk about how your definition of AI and how it applies to the business.
Yeah. So AI is a very broad general category that, you know, we can apply AI to almost anything in life today, right? So
Yep.
very specifically, you know, for us, you know, when we look at one of the big problems that the managed service providers have is in monitoring their customers' infrastructure, right? So they outsource IT infrastructure. A lot of times they're using RMMs to monitor that infrastructure, and it's you know, how can they ensure that in any given point in time, you know, the IT infrastructure isn't affecting the business? So, you know, we worked really hard to operationalize some machine learning algorithms in the context of artificial intelligence to help solve that problem, right? So, you know, when we talk about machine learning, it's one sliver under AI, and really the way we think about it is, you know, the definition of AI is to simulate how the human brain learns. So we've worked hard to operationalize this in such a way that we're able to solve a very specific problem by leveraging our AI capabilities.
Perfect.
Really cool.
That was well put, because again, I have to be the naysayer because I've heard it for years. I did enablement forever, and it was always about machine learning, which really ended up turning into curated content. You know, based off algorithms, or based off of the amount of time somebody looked at something, basically, which I get, you know, but that's the same concept as retargeted marketing almost. That is not AI. It's never going to evolve. It's never going to change. You know? So, okay. Couple questions, and then then we'll bring Trevor back in. So how long have you been doing this for?
We've been at it with GrokStream for 6 years now. It took us a couple of years to launch the product. We signed our first managed service provider customer a little over 3 years ago.
Nice. How's that going? Because the managed service providers are very difficult.
It's going really well. So we entered the market really from a no, they're not. I won't let you get away with that.
Most of my friends, I tell them they're difficult all the time. They're high maintenance, and I love it. So, and they're watching.
I was like, I wouldn't say that either. I was like, wow, Sean just said that.
I say it all the time. But go ahead. I'm sorry, Josh.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, you know, our entry into the market was with these large global managed service providers, and we've had a lot of success for transforming their business. We've done such a good job in maturing our product that now we're able to offer this to kind of the mid-market and push down into, you know, the tens of thousands of MSPs out there that are providing services to their customers.
So that takes me back to one question, and then we'll bring Trevor back on. And the question really rolls around, you manage, you know, you talk about large MSPs, and I said they're you know, a lot to deal with. And it's not that they're a lot to deal with. It's the fact that there's a lot of vendors out there that are not one size fits all, right? Because an MSPs based off maturity level can or cannot adopt what you're doing, or, you know, facilitate that business. So are you able to work? Is there a certain sweet spot of MSPs that should work with you, or is it all?
So Sean, it's going to be, I'm going to say it's all of them. Now, there may be certain companies out there that don't have this pain that wouldn't require GrokStream. But, you know, you asked me earlier kind of, you know, how we solve the problem. You talk about AI and, you know, not having AI. One of the things that differentiates GrokStream or Grok is the fact that we do not require rules or heavy input to deploy our product. Grok just learns. It's a true AI. So as we've built this fully multi-tenant environment for our large managed service provider customers, you know, we see that, you know, it would be really easy for larger managed service provider customers that maybe don't have data scientists, that don't have people that understand AI as well to deploy the platform, and because it's just going to work. It's going to learn the patterns and the signals and be able to prevent these problems.
Got you. Okay. So anybody can work with you essentially.
Absolutely.
And you're leveraging the AI to be the back end to support them essentially. So they don't need to have a lot of people. They're almost like what automation is built for too, right? To rid yourself of the rudimentary tasks.
You got it.
Got it. Okay. Adam, any questions?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any questions. We'll just see where the conversation goes. I mean, I love AI, I love operations, right? My company and even the book, right? Scaling with Purpose. Let's just bring this out.
Plug it.
It's always that growth mindset, and it's like, hey, how can I grow and scale my service teams, service delivery teams? How can we respond faster to incidences? How can I, you know, speaking to Trevor, I'll bring him on right now, is just how can we take our contract management when we're dealing with clients and getting them in a streamlined and scalable fashion, right? And leveraging the whole AI tool set, leveraging systems and workflows and processes, right? From the sale, you know, dealing with ZenContract all the way through service delivery with Grok, right? And it's really cool having both you guys. There's a lot of synergies here too. So Sean, you guys really schedule this stuff out pretty nice. Just saying.
It works well. Well, I think the one thing that we should really acknowledge is the fact is that every one of these companies have been complementary to each other and the ecosystem. It goes to show you that there's not one technology or one provider that could do everything for the MSPs. Fact.
For sure.
I think Salesforce set that stage years ago when they wanted to try to be the ERP of everything, and they couldn't do it because there's just too many variables. There's too many variables in regards to what people need technology wise, service wise, maturity wise, and also just evolution wise, right? So you know, all that aside, though, what they did was they focused on the App Exchange, bring vendors in that can actually help support the mission. You know, Jay McBain put out a study. He used to do a talk a few years back where he said for every $1 you spent on Salesforce licensing, you'd spend approximately $3.14 on extras, whether it was another technology or a service provider or whatever, because there's not one technology. There's not one. It's not Lord of the Rings. It's not one ring to rule them all. It's just not. You know. So yeah, I'm total nerd about that stuff. So anyway, but yeah, so you know, I'm gonna shut up for a second, and Adam, you can go. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was, you know, let me it's wow, Sean. So you caught yourself, which is actually learning. You're an AI yourself, like you're.
I've been watching The Terminator recently, so you know I'm getting ready.
So let me talk with Trevor here just for a second. So I want to understand something. I'm just like, I'm gonna ask it in a maybe a crude way, and if it shoots at myself in the foot, the team at ConnectWise can.
You will.
Does ZenContract, does that replace Sell or CPQ?
Loaded question. It doesn't, because we're not.
I'm helping you, Trevor. No,
we're not a quoting tool, right?
Okay.
So we don't integrate with disties. So we are complementary to Sell. Let's say you do your quote in Sell, and you've got, you know, laptops, some AV licenses, so on and so forth. That creates an opportunity in Manage. We pull that in. Now you can get it fully executed, right? And then that kicks off the lifecycle management.
Okay, because earlier you said you deal with product catalog and those type of things, and so I was thinking, man, is this a Sell kind of quoting?
No. We have quite a few of our clients who are using Sell with us. Right?
Gotcha. Okay.
But some don't use Sell. They'll use something else to get that pricing, right? Or they'll go straight to Ingram or Insert, whoever, right?
Sure. Definitely. Okay. That's really helpful. I mean, that's really cool going from the client, getting the list of products and services as far as in like a engineer quote, right? And then bring it into a contract where I imagine you have your scope of work, you have your MSA, right? Those type of things, the legalese. And so those things will plug in, right? Just could be cool if you actually integrated in with CPQ eventually.
I mean, like if we talk about like long-term roadmap, I would love for the ability to directly tie into Sell. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Definitely. And so when we're going from quoting and we're dealing with the ZenContract, do you convert those opportunities into sales orders or anything like that? Or you do anything with the conversion, or is it just on the sales rep to go inside, manage, and do the conversion themselves within there? Just kind of curious.
Yeah. So there's an automation that we built in. We don't touch like the status of any opportunities. We still think there should be a little bit of manual intervention there, although we've had the request enough times that we might do it. So, okay, this contract gets fully executed. It's going to convert that opportunity to closed one, right? Or a toggle into whatever stage you want it. But as it stands today, it gets like fully executed, right? That you send out for signature, best practices as it comes back, it gets countersigned. Then it can automatically create the agreement. So let's say you've got, widgets A through F on that agreement. It's going to go into ConnectWise with the start and the end date you've selected, billing amount, and the widgets, and say, here's your new agreement.
Awesome. Okay. That is pretty slick. That just helped me understand kind of the integration pieces and what you guys do and so forth, right? And so going from that point, right, and taking it into service delivery, right? And so Trevor signed a bunch of clients. We have a bunch of noise in our system. And that's where, Josh, you come in and like, holy crap. And the term I like to use, we have chaos. We have a lot of fires we're putting out. We're constantly running around. This is where you bolt on within your service delivery AI ops. Is that right?
That's exactly right.
And then, so how does that, I guess, talk through a little bit of the integration that Grok has?
So if you're a managed service provider and you've deployed an RMM or other monitoring solutions, observability tools Maybe you have one, maybe you have multiple tools. Today you have a team of people receiving those alerts and reacting through those alerts. Sometimes you're able to automate certain tasks based on an alert. And then, when you identify problems, you open a ticket and work that ticket to resolution. So the challenge that this space has is, just as you stated, Adam, those monitoring tools across a bunch of different customers generate a lot of information, a lot of noise. Because of that noise, by the time that information gets to an operations center, basically we're asking them to find a needle in a haystack. So what Grok does is it learns as those alarms fire over time, which alarms are related, and we're going to group all of the alerts that are related to the same underlying cause. It may be across multiple servers or devices or desktops. We're going to group all of those things. We're going to say, hey, I've seen this fingerprint before. I know what it is. I know how many times it resulted in an incident. I know how to fix it. And now I'm going to drive that through to automation. Does that make sense?
So that we can keep our agreements and profit that we sign with Zendesk.
We're going to increase that profit. You got it.
Nice.
Okay. Let's talk about profitability, right? That's my favorite conversation. That's profitability, actually. So two products here that give the ability to add on more profitability, right? And so there's two ways you make money. One is by growth. The other is by automating or getting rid of physical simple tasks, right? And not labor, essentially, right? Or I want to say cutting corners, but you're not cutting corners, becoming more efficient, right? So I'm curious if do you guys track stats on any of this? And Josh, I'll start with you. Like, what could an average MSP working with you guys look to save or make or whatever?
Yeah. So from like when we're selling to an MSP, it's about cost reduction, right? Yep. And in many of our customers' example, I'll just kind of give you an average number. On average, Grok is doing around 75 to 80% of the work that their operators were doing. So you can think about that in a couple of ways, right? Typically, these guys are growing; they want to grow. So it's not about reducing headcount; we're preventing headcount. What we tell people is Grok is a NOC or IT operations center in a box. We want to be doing as much of that work as we can to drive those efficiencies. Now, if we're selling through the MSP, we give them the ability to sell this as a service, right? To sell Grok platform to drive additional revenue by providing this capability to their customers. Maybe they have customers that still want to have their hands on identifying and resolving those issues, and Grok is a platform that can help them do that.
So I'll come back to you, Josh, in a second. I want to take the same because I have a question about you that Freudian slip of knock. I want to go with that in a minute. Trevor, what about you, man? Because you apply to both.
Yeah. And I mean, we don't have any, fancy dashboards where you can report on profit and loss. Because again, we're going to push that information back into your PSA. That should be your source of truth, right?
Yep.
We are talking about rolling out dashboards and better reporting. But it's kind of taking a back seat to what Josh was talking about on the operational efficiency and maturity side of things, right? So this month we're rolling out an MSA manager. You'll be able to see what of your clients have signed an MSA, what version they're on, and if they're not on one, you can just automatically send it to all of the people who don't have it, which is going to tie into Josh's next point as a sell-through product with a policy manager, right? So your IT fair use, all that kind of stuff, and you can manage that within our portal and on-sell that to their clients. If that makes sense.
No, it does. So my question then is, how much time can one expect to save, or how much in cost savings just because of these rudimentary tasks being done from working with a company like you guys?
I mean, it depends on what your current process is, right?
Sure.
But so with Greg, we went through what it looked like in the old days, right? Okay, we've got a Word document, convert it to PDF, send it out, get physical signature, get it back, print it out, physical sign, send it back to the client, then store it somewhere, hopefully, right? Instead of just email, somewhere that's sorted and you can actually find it. So let's call that process, 30 minutes, an hour. Okay, are there other stakeholders that you need to get in there? Okay, now it's 2 or 3 hours, maybe 4 hours for one contract, right? That's slowing down the sales process. So I guess I'll give you an anecdotal story. We brought in a client 2 months ago, and he was small. It was him and one other guy. He had 2 techs working under him and this guy. And he's like, this will save me 3 to 5 hours a month. And we only do like 2 new clients per month.
Right. That's
right.
So if it will save him 3 to 5 hours, if he's depending on where he's located, let's just say his hourly rate is $200, right? So there you go. 2 times 3, 2 times 5. That's what he's saving already right there.
That's just it. And like, let's not even talk about the automations or reduction of human error. Let's just talk about that side of things, and it becomes a net
Right.
zero investment.
Agreed. Yep. Yeah, exactly. You just paid back for time.
Yeah, exactly.
You can actually allocate to something else. And then on the other side of things, going to your point, I think the one big part that stands out is that the integrity of the business itself, the integrity of the contract, the integrity of the relationship is protected. We don't got to come back to it. And not to mention the other part of is the velocity of closing business.
Yep.
Because people suck at that. Let's be honest. It's one of the biggest problems they have is going to multiple places to find the documentation, to put it together, to send out. It's a train wreck.
We just onboarded another client, and he said it took them 3 weeks to get a proposal out because of all the people. And I'm like, how much business are you? I'm in sales. If someone wants a proposal, I'm trying to turn that around in minutes.
Yeah, right. Unless it's middle of the night and I'm sleeping, but in the morning, I get that email. First thing I'm doing is I look at my emails. Oh, send out the quote.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right away.
Yeah.
I'll agree. Yeah, time is always money. We already know that 5 minutes response time is what you get on a brand new lead. 24 hours is the time you got to send out a proposal.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a fact. Unless it's a freaking leap year, then maybe it's a little shorter. I don't know how that works. But anyway. Okay. So now let's come back around, Josh, to you mentioned the knock piece. How do you we've already been digging into Trevor on how they work with manage, right? And Adam already called him out on like, do you replace this? So are you looking to replace knock or complement knock, or how does that work together?
Yeah. So no, we won't replace the knock. We want to drive efficiencies into the knock. So we're going to integrate to the RMM. We're not the collector. We're not going to be polling devices or putting agents on devices. We don't integrate with we don't compete with the RMM. We're going to integrate. And from a knock perspective, the goal is for the knock to be as efficient as possible, right? So we're going to make those knock engineers as efficient as they possibly can be. So yes, we are going to drive automation. We're going to self-heal a lot of problems, the things that we can, but as complicated as these environments are, and as much as they change, the knock is never going to go away.
Gotcha. So you're more complementary to this, and if I thought of you hierarchy wise or chronological order, it's knock. You guys are laying here, and then MSP is here pushing information, doing their setup, everything else, and then information that gets conducted. You're collecting data. You're doing all the stuff, and then you're pushing up and back, so bi-directionally, essentially.
You got it. Yep.
See. I take a few
You
seconds.
got it. You got the dots connected.
So
yeah, because I'm always, one to like, okay, is this a pod within ConnectWise? Does it help the engineer saying, hey, here's kind of what you need to be looking at on a certain service ticket? Can you walk me through a little bit of like that, Josh?
Yeah, sure. So if our customers are using today an observability tool, we're gonna collect all of that data. We're gonna present it in our UI so that you can see. We call them detections. A detection will comprise of a number of alerts that are firing. And in the UI, we're going to be able to say, hey, this is how many times this problem has happened. If it's resulted in a ticket or incident in the past, and how did we resolve it? And we're going to present all of that context to them in our UI. Now we can also automatically create the incident or ticket. So, in our automatic environments where customers want auto ticket, we'll integrate to the RMM. We'll correlate those alerts into a detection. We'll label the detection with the root cause. We'll automatically open a ticket and provide all of that context in the ticket. So
let me just hearing you talk, I'm just trying to think of, you're also building your knowledge base.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. So we're going to integrate with the knowledge base. What we learn is, and it's funny because people don't realize this, but any environment that we walk into, the same problems happen again and again, right? And oftentimes someone is responding to an alert or responding to the same problem that's happening again and again, but they have no knowledge that it's repeating. So because we're leveraging AI to recognize and group all of the signal, right? We understand we have every piece of the puzzle, so I know what this thing is. Then I'm able to quickly say, hey, I can link it to an automation. I can link it to a knowledge article because I know exactly what this is. I know what the runbook might, I can capture what the runbook is so that I can present it to the operator next time to help them solve the problem more quickly if we don't want to automate it.
Cool.
I have one more question. I have one more question real quick.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself being more complementary to the RMM side or the knock side or both?
So for us,
I know it's a weird question too, because it's funky, right? It could be a little bit of everything, but where do you find yourself being most complementary or most entrenched with?
I'm going to say both. And the reason is because I don't care what the signal looks like. I don't care if it's coming from a desktop. I don't care if it's coming from network infrastructure, IT operations, the cloud, security. If it's a DevOps team, Grok is going to do a really good job of grouping all of those symptoms and identifying what that thing is and telling you what it is. So does that make sense?
Yep, it does. Yeah, no, it does. I'm just thinking because, for ConnectWise's approach, it's, it falls under unified monitoring and management, which I feel like that is, so that's why I asked the question, because you're kind of, you're complementary to both RMM and NOC services, because you're helping with the platform technology piece, but the aggregation of information. So for the user as well. And that's our approach. So I like that. Okay. And then that's funny because we have two complementary products here, but one's on one side with BMS and the other's on the unified monitoring. But yet you guys have an overlap regardless because of the use cases.
Mm-hmm. Very slick. Very good ecosystem developed here. Speaking of ecosystem and speaking of PitchIT, let's get into some questions that may or may not have been in our pre-meeting, but I'm going to ask Trevor. So you applied to PitchIT and you're jumping into this. You had a certain view of what PitchIT was. Can you walk me through kind of your experience so far?
It's been awesome. And I'm not trying to blow smoke here. All of the participants are so generous with their time and their conversation between each other. And then every week bringing in a guest speaker, guest coach. It's much more elaborate than I thought it would be, right? Because applying to it, I didn't know what I was getting into, right? I've only, at this point, this is back in January, only been with Zen for 6-7 months. Know of ConnectWise quite thoroughly, right? Know of Manage, know all the pieces, but don't know what this PitchIT thing is. And then someone's like, you should apply for this. So we apply, and then once we start, we're like, okay, so it's 16 weeks. There's something new every week. There's banter with people. It's been surreal.
Nice. I mean, it is a lot, and right, it's a massive amount of, I would think, the growth for your organization, right? Maturing, knowing your focus, knowing at the end of the day, I mean, both you, Josh, you and Trevor both killed it on your initial boom, this is what we do, right?
Yeah, but you alluded to the ecosystem, and I think it's just growing and growing, and people are getting more into it, right? The complementary products, but just the exposure we've got from it, where people, that's, I think, one of the most challenging things as a startup is how do we get in front of people without, going to 1 million events and spending $3 million on trade shows, right? So it's been great.
Awesome, Josh.
That's a good point. Real quick, the amount of money you spend on trade shows, how ridiculous is it, right? And the exposure is important. You have to do it.
Why do you think of that? I'm trying to avoid that thought in that conversation. It's absolutely astronomical.
It's not getting better. Inflation is killing all of these things, by the way. If you look at the bill for hospitality these days, go to your restaurant you like and look at the difference in price now. Seriously. So, and that's, unfortunately, that's the way it's going to be moving forward. It's not going to change. Yeah. So, all right, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Josh.
So Josh, similar question, right? Not what you're spending on events, but
yeah, please give us your budget,
right? I'm just curious of what your experience, what you thought the experience was like, and then versus kind of what you're getting now.
Yeah, I think similar to Trevor, I really had no idea. Like I said before, this is kind of a new space for us. One of the guys on my team actually brought this to me, and I didn't know a whole lot about ConnectWise, and we kind of tiptoed in, and I've been pleasantly surprised. I think the ConnectWise team is brilliant for pulling this together. I think not only does it help facilitate their ecosystem, but the sessions that they put together for the companies that are involved are invaluable. When you're a startup, you go nonstop. You work 18 hours a day, and sometimes it's really hard to step back and focus on those things that are important. And those sessions have helped. Right, it helps us bring focus to those things that are important. And kind of drive through this. So that's a really positive from my perspective. And secondly, we're super excited about the opportunity to kind of get involved within kind of this ecosystem. And I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity. So we're very proud to be here and happy to have been invited to participate.
Sweet. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. That you've been around. I think I heard 6 years. Is that right?
Yeah.
And just recently came into ConnectWise. Is that right?
Yep.
That's so I'm just wondering, like, hey, how did Grok, get started? Like, as far as like that story there, right? What were you prior to, ConnectWise, knowing that, was it other, other communities that you were integrated with? Because it's dealing with ops and dealing with, right?
Yeah,
So how's that?
it's crazy, Adam. I mean, it's a very different world. So traditionally, we've sold to Fortune 1000 company enterprises, very large service providers, and very large managed service providers. And living in that world, we're talking about really large, very, very expensive platforms, and they're solving a problem for those companies, right? So a lot of times it wasn't as much kind of monitoring the desktops like an RMM, on all the infrastructure. It's more about kind of large enterprise-wide applications. So as we've matured our application and we're looking to kind of go mid-market, we start researching how to broaden and grow and scale faster. We came across ConnectWise, and this whole ecosystem was really kind of new to us.
Slick. I mean, I'm looking at your page now. I will say you look better on the camera here than on your LinkedIn profile. Your webpage.
Thanks.
Adam's really good at he's very obvious. That's why he stays around.
I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I finished that comment. I was like,
It's I just look at your page right now, so just slick.
Cool.
So
I'll fix that photo. Don't worry.
I mean, I like the beard and all that. I mean, I like, it's Sean. Everybody has a beard on this except for me. It's not. I need to let it grow out a little bit.
I already have. Let's move on. I was about to just like.
Yeah. So let's talk about this, right? So what's the biggest takeaway you've taken from PitchIT, right? What's the biggest thing you've learned? Let's start with you.
I honestly have to say ecosystem. Like going through Jay McBain's chat and him putting real data in front of us of the size of the ecosystem, the growth of it, the fact that for the first time ever historically the MSPs have a bigger chunk than telecom. Like it just drives me to go, okay, we need to integrate with everything and we need to improve our vendor relationships. Like Josh and I need to have a virtual coffee, right? I met a lot of the PitchIT contestants in Vegas and it was great catching up with them. Minus one person who had more steps than me, who I think is probably watching this. But it's really driving all of those vendor partnerships. Yeah, that's it.
Nice. Okay. Josh, same question for you.
So it's hard to pinpoint one, but I'll kind of add on to Trevor. It's the ecosystem, but to me, it's the size of the market. I mean, the way I think about it, everything in our life today is connected. And as consumers, we have zero tolerance for downtime. We have zero tolerance for interruptions to those services. I've kind of been living in this different world, and to see that there are, I'm not talking about a few hundreds or 1,000, possible customers out there. And I'm talking about tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of companies around the world that kind of need this type of capability, right? So, I would say size of the market.
Yeah, so there has been a couple of questions posted here. So Keith Nelson, obviously one of our highest active live stream viewers. So this is for you, Josh. Like, what if you use a not contract, right? Does Grok apply?
So if they contract out, not so. Question is, if they outsource the knock from ConnectWise, are you able to be involved in you're talking about third-party interaction at this point?
Yeah. So at this point, we're not working directly with the ConnectWise knock when they've outsourced the services, but absolutely, it's a possibility for Grok to engage with ConnectWise and this will be made part of their offering to their customers.
Perfect.
Nice. Okay. And one other question, Keith. Awesome questions here. How about data collectors like LineGuard or Perch? You work with those?
So I'm assuming that's for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
LineGuard and Perch, and honestly, you probably Perch is what ConnectWise acquired Perch. That's our cybersecurity offer for ConnectWise.
Okay.
So that's what the question is. And are you familiar with LineGuard at all since you're new in this space?
I'm not familiar with LineGuard or Perch, but what I can say is anything that generates, so think of it as a symptom. If it's a message, if it's an alarm, if it tells me what the problem is, what is alarming, what is the description of the alarm, Grok can integrate to it. So if it's a raw message, a raw log, it doesn't matter. Basically, what Grok sees is a symptom. As long as it has a timestamp and it tells me what's alarming and what the description of the alarm is, then I can integrate to it, and we'll do a very good job of grouping and assigning to those issues.
Very slick. Okay, cool. And so one thing I want to dig into is, that we're all about competing. We're here for prize money, right? And so, Trevor, I'm just curious on, if you were to win the prize, what would you spend that prize money on?
Man, your voice changed. You're like, if you're winning the prize, Trevor, tell me what's going to happen next.
Yes.
Well, I feel like there's some restrictions around what we can use it for. So not just beer, right, Sean?
There's zero restrictions.
Oh, then just beer. That's an easy answer.
Yeah, no, it is prize money, right?
Yeah.
So it is what you want to do with it. However, we sit down with you and do a project plan to make sure it's allocated the right way. That's all.
Yeah. So if I look at kind of the needs of the company, I would say DevOps would be a huge chunk, but then I'm also selfish. So sales and marketing, right? Absolutely. And I think, I don't know what that split would be. That would be a conversation to be had with Greg. But certainly those are two areas that are just going to propel our growth, right? All the additional integrations, pushing out Policy Manager. We've got a couple other things that we're baking in the background. And then sales, like if we can get more exposure and we've got all this fancy new technology behind it, well, now we start to get on that exponential growth path.
Yep.
Nice.
Good call.
Josh.
Yeah. So for me, it's all about sales. I've already kind of explained that we're moving into this new market. Every single dollar would go to expanding our ecosystem and driving to these MSP, partners, additional revenue. So marketing, sales, activities to expand our channel program and driving kind of through that channel.
So, you can expand it through a room party, right?
Yeah. Happy hour. Think about it. All the great.
Adam's book is really not about skill and purpose, but getting money for purpose of parties. What? It's like high scale.
We have a contestant commit to it, so I'm just waiting. I'm wanting one every night. Then it's
I'm trying to scale the parties. Is what I'm trying to do.
It's scale the ecosystem in the community, Sean.
Yeah, that's what.
In IT technology.
You're right.
The best.
You're right.
So,
I apologize. I'm sorry.
So let's, Trevor, any final words? I know we're getting near our time here. So any closing thoughts, final words about your company or ecosystem?
No, I don't think so. I think we're beating the ecosystem horse to death, which is good. Don't get me wrong. I think that conversation needs to keep happening. I just want to thank both of you for having us on. Josh, nice to meet you over StreamYard. And that's it.
Awesome. Josh.
Yeah, same here, Trevor. Nice to meet you guys. Thanks so much for having us. It's been a great experience, and we look forward to the coming weeks.
You're 2 weeks and counting to the preliminaries, man. I guess that's the question. Are you both ready for this?
That's a great question. and yes, he has recorded, refined. He's gonna kill it.
I'm glad Trevor goes, yes, it is a great question. Let me get back to you on that.
Yeah.
Nice. Sean, let's wrap up with some closing thoughts, man.
Oh man. So thanks guys for coming on, being part of this. I'm glad you guys bought into a lot of the structure of things, because it's difficult to put together sessions that make sense, considering you don't know what you don't know about what people know, right? And it's 26 of you guys, and just in this conversation alone, you both came in from elsewhere into this. Trevor, you knew the ecosystem existed, but you didn't realize to what degree. Josh, you had no freaking clue until somebody brought this to you, right? Yep. Which means my marketing is working for people finding this from outside of it, which is great, right? So that's a win. That's a win. Ding. But no, I think the important thing for anybody that watches these videos and actually takes note of it is just to acknowledge what these vendors are doing and how they collaborate. Every MSP is looking for stack alignment. I'm not saying any one vendor is perfect for you, but I would say if you see they provide a product that you're offering, that the product you're offering that you need, get with them and see if it matches as far as a relationship is concerned. See if you can work together. And honestly, you should always be learning. And we know that these MSPs and these MSP groups all the time talking about what they did or what they need or who they talk to. So it's important to share this to other people too that need it. I mean, you got two companies that are essentially going to help you eliminate tons of extra work, also safeguard your business in different ways. You know, it's foolish not to even think of this way. So, and that's been all the vendors we brought on. So why would you not? So that's all. I'm done.
Nice, Sean. Awesome. Well, Trevor and Josh, it's been an awesome pleasure meeting you both. Really cool technologies. I love seeing what's going on. Grok, really cool. I love the operation scalability and those type of things, and solving the problem that we're experiencing with the contract sales side of things, and also the service delivery side of things. Really cool. So definitely check their companies out. We're going to see you guys live, I believe, at IT Nation Connect. You guys both are going to be there, I'm assuming. Sean, we're going to be in Newark together here. This
beautiful, balmy Newark.
Maybe we'll pop in and do a live video together and just randomly do something.
Let's go.
Check in with. Let's do that. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure meeting everyone here. And till next week, peace out. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Thanks.
Doodles.